It's important that vision is taken serious because vision becomes the criteria from which you build. And if you are thinking small and you're dreaming small, vision is going to be the thing that lifts that up. You could be a leader in your business, but being a visionary is a totally different, it's a transcendent state. And I think this process is going to help you really get out of your own way and start seeing a little bit bigger, because I'm willing to bet you're thinking real small. I'm willing to bet you're thinking real small right now. And even this conversation might be starting to break some stuff loose where you're like, oh shit, I don't know what I want. What's up? Welcome back. Today, we're going to talk about vision. I don't know where you are in your journey, but I can tell you that vision is going to be the way that you crack through to the next level. And what we're going to be doing today and over the next several episodes, we'll do 5 more, is walking you through our framework about how to develop a vision. Today, we'll talk a little bit about why you need a vision and why you might be doing it wrong. Actually, you probably are doing it wrong. Even books like Vivid Vision are really restrictive when it comes to this kind of stuff. So you've probably heard a bunch of different things about vision, but Marty and I are going to help you find a different method. We do this with our 7 and 8 figure clients. We help them really decode how to build it, how to design it, how to organize it, how to develop it. And this process has been really the thing that has not only generated probably the most revenue for us, but it has also been the most rewarding to see come to life. Like, this vision stuff is great.
Do you want to know what I know about vision?
Yeah.
The world hungers for it because there's very little. I think it's very much connected with, if you don't have a vision, you're probably not a leader either.
Yeah.
The leader has to know where you're going.
Well, so I would say that I would ultimately agree with that. Syntax wise, I would say it different. I would just say that, like, you can be a leader, but people are craving a visionary, right? They're craving a vision to get behind. And like, they'll follow people, but that person doesn't have a vision. They're just following someone wandering.
Using our realm, if you want to step into your king role, there has to be a vision with it.
Yes. Yeah. Again, there's frameworks that you all probably have found that are helpful. Vivid Vision is one of them. And Cameron Harold wrote, it's a great book. It's just restricted. It's like, tell me the vision for your business. And then you're left sorting the pieces out for the rest of your life.
Wait, I can have a vision for my life too?
I would say the issue that most people run into, at least at the level that we're playing, is that they're trying to make a vision for their business and a vision for their life very separate.
Yeah, considering we primarily work with men are good at separating, are good at separating. So the tendency would be to try to create two
compartmentalize.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which only work that gets you to the first mountain, as we talk about.
Yeah.
It's not going to get you where you want to go.
Yeah. It also, and you might be doing this if you're listening. It also creates these weird divides where, like, one is very time forward, the other is time lagging. So you're like, I'm gonna do all this stuff to make this vision come to life, and then at that point I'll come back and worry about these things that, in a way, I can't get back. Like, their moments are gone. So if I'm gonna build this business vision, I'll come back and spend family time. I'll come back and get my health in order. I'll come back and do this. It just becomes really problematic.
Yeah, I'll spend more time with my kids but by the time you get to when, they're already teenagers.
They're gone. Yeah, they don't care.
They don't want to be with you.
And you miss the moment to forge the thing that you're trying to get in the first place.
Yeah.
So here's what we're going to be doing. We're going to walk you through, there's 6 parts to our framework. Each part we're going to walk you through step by step so you can follow along for each deep dive. We'll have 6 of them here on the podcast. If you want the actual vision framework, the PDF document, jump onto an Instagram, send me a note there. My handle is Aaron Velke. send me a note there that just says, hey, I want the vision framework, or drop the word vision in the comments, or DM me or whatever. And we'll send you, I'll just need your email, and I'll send you the vision document itself. You can go through it. We're also going to be adding a meditation to each of the segments that we do. So each vision framework piece will have this conversation where you learn about it, learn what to look for, how to be attentive, and also build properly. It will also have a meditation to help you bring up some of the things that are necessary that Marty recorded. So you've got the framework 1 through 6, and then you've got a meditation 1 through 6 that we're going to be sharing with you. So that, again, if you don't have a vision, you have some tools that are designed to be holistic, transformative, etc. If you get stuck along the way, you can certainly reach out to us. The implementation is what people invest in. If you want our help taking your vision to the next level, pushing it higher, getting it more clear, then we can help you with that. But this is our way of walking you through basically the best part of what it means to be involved in our coaching world, our ecosystem. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Should we go to the horizon?
Yeah, let's do a table of contents. So the 6-part vision framework begins with the horizon. We'll talk about that today.
I just like horizon, so I'm jumping in.
It does sound, it always is fun. Next is outlining your perfect day. After that is future me feels, then future me does. That's part number 4. Part number 5 is present me can start by. And then last is expanding the comfort zone. So we're going to walk you all the way through that. But I think before we even get into horizon, let's talk about why vision matters, because that's really the argument that we're making, is that as a successful business leader, there's a very big difference between you being a leader, and a
successful
visionary.
Business leader and leading your own life.
Yes, yeah, and the question is do you have a vision, or are you just leading? And because if you don't have a vision, where are you leading people?
Off the cliff.
Yeah, or just into repetition, right? Into the same old, and yeah, there's a really big difference. I also think that if you're at a place as the leader where you're stuck, frustrated, plateaued, you're bored, you're unfulfilled, then vision is going to be the panacea for that. It's the only panacea for that. If you're already successful, you're already making good money, the business is operating, you're rolling, there's nothing that's going to fix your positioning. It's not going to be another venture. It's not going to be another zero. It's not. It's going to be vision.
I just think it's important when we talk about it that we are encompassing the whole. That's one of the things we learn looking at Vivid Vision, where it is very much about business, that we want to look at the totality of the person. I think it's easy to, again, for men, I think it's very easy to slide into the business side of things while the other part of their life is kind of running amok at times. Our goal is to look at the entirety of your life to make sure everything is moving in towards the right place, the right horizon.
Yeah. Are all of your parts making the right whole?
Correct. Yeah.
In mastermind groups, in communities, there's usually a focus.
Yes.
On business, for example. Mm-hmm. With the assumption that if you get business right, you'll get everything right. Else will work.
Correct.
And what we know, we are often the rescuers that are coming in when someone's business life is going well, but the rest of it's destroyed. Yeah. And a life coach can't help that, because business and personal are so enmeshed for entrepreneurs. Yeah. And a business coach doesn't want to touch that other stuff, because they're like, dude, right. I care about the numbers, the dollars, the charts, and whether the P&L looks good. So if you're here, if you're listening, what we're here to help you do, and really to understand as we talk about this, is that a compelling vision is the driving force for your personal and professional success to happen simultaneously. And we meet these people, we are around these people a lot, where they're just attracted because it seems like they got it all figured out. And we think that something must be wrong, right? But they do have it figured out because they're working towards a vision that is holistic. And I think that's going to be the basis of our conversation.
Yeah. Let's get all the pieces moving.
So let's talk about Horizon. Now, everything that we do, we have 4 pillars. These are the same 4 pillars you see everywhere. So don't think that we're trying to be special. We're going to talk about your career. Career is your money, your business, your financials, your investing, all that. I also think that careers have to be fulfilling. So there's a degree of that, what you do day to day. We're going to talk about your circle. Your circle is your environment, your peers, the people you spend time with, where you spend time, like your literal environment, your house, the city you live in, the place where you travel might be your community. But your circle is sort of your sphere of influence, and influence goes 2 ways. Then we've got time. Time is your lifestyle, your day-to-day operations, the tasks on your to-do list, your adventures, things like that. And then last, we've got health, and that can certainly be an all-inclusive physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. So we tend to pay attention to all of those together because in many ways, if you're building a life where the expansion of one of those categories costs you expansion in the others, you're doing it wrong. But that kind of anchors in this topic of horizon. How would you describe like a horizon to someone that maybe has never had a vision? Like, what does it represent?
I was going to say, explain horizon to someone who never saw a horizon.
Explain horizon to a blind person.
Right. That's a good question. I think if you are, I'm just going to use an example of looking at a horizon. I think looking at a horizon offers an opportunity of expansion, not mentally, because practically speaking, that's the easier side for us typically, but to staring at the horizon, looking at the horizon, meditating on the horizon creates this expansion within us, within our hearts, our souls, that helps us to see what we dream for in our lives, the biggest possible life we could have for ourselves that we may have had even when we were kids, but became lost over time, because we've got so used to being logical and practical. And so the horizon for me is being able to go deeply in ourselves and begin to find the magic that is up.
I love that. Yeah, the way I think of horizon is really about the unendingness.
There's that too.
Of like your process, your way. And for entrepreneurs that tend to be goal driven, we just keep inventing new goals. But the intention of that is to move you closer to something. And understanding that there is a horizon allows you to be like, well, I'm never actually going to get there. You can get a plane, you're still never going to get away from the horizon. So if we know it's unending and it's just going to keep being there, what direction do you go?
Well, and I think that's the point. I talked about this. Maybe it was on the vision episode that we had done. When the fog moved in, when I was up in Maine hiking, the horizon is a great navigator when you're up in the mountains, because you know which direction you're facing. When that's gone, you don't know, all your bearings are off. And I think it's the same in life as well. The horizon gives you a directional and a focus so that you know the direction you're going. And if I'm not going east, I can go the opposite direction because I know I have to go that way. But it gives that focus.
Yeah. Yeah. As far as like concretes, if you are building an organization, the goals are your milestones, but the goal of business is to keep playing business. Like I think some people want to like sell your business. Maybe you do. But why do you want to sell your business? Like you're probably going to start another one, right? That's just a step along the way. So the horizon kind of represents the whole of the way. This is how I go about living. This is how I go about growing and all that. I love the game of business because it is in itself personally and professionally stimulating. And building a horizon that's just about business is really restrictive to the rest of your world. So we do it very holistically. But the horizon also, in a lot of ways, represents the thing that I know that I will never get. The intention is not to get it. It's to work towards it. And every entrepreneur that has somehow been in the space of personal development probably gets that, like thematically, but operationally might not. Like, I'm never going to get there. There is no there. However, when we start to look at like operations, there is a different thought around the horizon. It's like, well, when I get there, then I'll do these things.
Yes.
Knowing that you'll never get to the horizon. So whatever you attach to it is never going to happen.
Frees me of the responsibility. The other thing that comes to mind when you're talking, because we work with, we have a lot of visionary people that we do work with in business. It's also, it's one thing to have like 13 businesses going on at the same time. But sometimes it's because there's a lack of a vision that creates this chaos all over the place for that person. And all 13 businesses might continue to operate, but they better be moving in the same direction. Like, you can't be shooting all over the place.
Yeah.
Because then there is no vision. There really is no vision.
Definitely not. And all you're doing is trading.
Correct.
Right? You're like growing one, and then
it's like I get bored over here, so I'm going to go over here.
Yeah.
Bored here. Here.
It's like watering one garden. You only have a finite amount of water, so you water one garden 1 week, and then you let that rest for 2 weeks, and in the middle you water this one, and neither of them are really growing. Neither business is really growing because they are at odds, right?
Correct.
They are literally
you're just kind of maintaining at that point.
Yeah. So okay, so again, this is particularly for you if you feel like you're stuck, because and whatever your story is about being stuck, horizon's important. Horizon and vision in general are medicines for stuckness. So whatever your stuck is, might be that you're bored, might be that you plateaued, might be that you have kind of mastered it and you want to find the next thing, or you're shiny object syndromed, tired. Who knows?
You don't know what you want.
Don't know what you want. Maybe you don't feel like you deserve nice things, whatever. So horizon is where we start to creatively express a lot about our long term. And, we've built everything on like a 3-year time horizon, because I think the world changes really fast and it's hard to map out 5.
There's one thing we agree on with vivid vision. He's like, no, there is no 5-10 years. The world is changing so often.
True. Yeah. I think that is one area that we agree. If you are thinking 5 years out, you're probably going to get detached from that really fast. Correct. So we go 3 years. I think
that's his point as well. It's easy to just put it off.
Yeah. And 3 years is also a good window for, like, my actions can impact that, which I think is important. So the horizon for those of you that run a business is probably going to be the hardest of the exercises, because it is really about the dream, and dreaming is a creative process. It's not convergent thinking, logic. It's divergent thinking, creative. So you're gonna have to use the other half of your brain for this. But the process of the horizon is really like writing a story. And what I think has been helpful for most of the people we've worked with one-on-one or in small groups is getting out of your space, getting out of where you normally think and dream, getting out of where you work, getting out of where you live, and finding a place that inspires you to do this kind of work. So if you're going to go into this and write, or from this conversation go work on it, I would highly recommend that you find a space that makes you feel creative.
Outdoors.
Marty said that and didn't even say anything else, just outdoors.
And Vivid Vision agrees with me on that one. Nature has a way of opening it up like nothing else. It's also less distracting for us.
But by outdoors, you don't mean like a picnic table on the side of a highway. You mean disconnected.
They might be listening while they're driving if there's a picnic table stop.
I would go insane trying to do vision work at a picnic table next to a highway. I don't know if they have those, but
yeah, we were driving back from Zion. There was one right in the side of the highway.
So what I hear though is like disconnect.
Correct.
Right. And my point being the same, like let's get you away from your stuff. And here's a couple frameworks and ideas to help you dream. I think there are 3 places that you can look to find information about your horizon that's already available, because this vision work, it's going to sound like you're pulling it from like all over. It already exists. We just got to get you out of your own way. The first place to look,
you said that like a comic character.
The first place to look is in your childhood. So when you were a kid, you probably had some kind of dreams, probably had some kind of statements about what mattered to you. Whether that was, I want to travel the globe, or, I want to start a nonprofit, or, I really want to make a difference. When we're adolescents, like I think we have these attachments, or we lack the attachments, but we have the ideas. So that's where we want to look for one.
Yeah, I'm just laughing because I'm not sure any kid's thinking about starting a nonprofit.
Maybe not in those words, right? But they're like
helping someone, helping people,
or yeah. Actually, I would say that it like Gen Z.
Yeah, don't ask me what generation.
Gen Z and Gen Alpha are really, really like they're tuned into this stuff.
Is Alpha like the most current?
It's not like Emerson's age, but it's like
the next one.
It'd probably be like 8, 9, 10 years, but like they're plugged in. And Gen Z in particular, like when we were doing a lot of when I was coaching a lot, I mean, the girls were like 14, 15, and they were like, man, I really want to go volunteer for this NGO. And I'm like, what? Like, I don't even, most adults don't know what an NGO is.
Right.
So anyway, that's a great place to look. The language might be different and you might have to really play with it, but sit down and think about, what were some of your aspirations? Think about college, because when you're in college, right, the whole thing is like dream big, dream big, dream big. In your past are some clues. So that's a great place to look. The second,
or what did you enjoy as a child? Enjoy doing?
Yeah, that's another good thing. Is like, yeah, what did you love? I think that's great. The opposite end of the spectrum is to look so far in the future that it would be what you do when you retire. So imagine that all your needs are met, your financials are set up, you don't have to work anymore. What would you then do? So you might say, well, I'd volunteer for, I don't know, like an arts program at schools, or I think I'd paint, right? Or I'd write a book, or I'd start a podcast or whatever. So you can, those are 2 ends where there's more purity. The middle gets messy. So when we're young, we dream and we have all these ideas of what we would do. And, even the car we drive and all that, we dream. And then we also imagine a time where we are free from that, free from the tethers in the messy middle. And we just create these like, man, I would go back and do this. I would go back and speak to middle schoolers. I would, I think I'd spend more time, in my hobbies and in my pursuits. So write those out. The horizon is designed to like help you get these things to surface. But I think that's another place.
The hobbies more than anything also point to what you're passionate about, more than likely.
Now I'm not a big fan of,
because that's also like, well, I got to wait until,
which I get, but like I'm also not a big fan of the whole, like, if you just do what you're passionate about,
oh yeah,
like you'll be rich and famous. Like
I've been around a long enough time to know it's got to be head and heart.
Yes. But like digging this stuff out can be really helpful. The third place to look, and this is an interesting way to look at it, but a third place to look is where your pain is now. Look at where your pain is today. Because in your pain today, you can probably find an opportunity to really dream about a future, the horizon, and a vision that is opposite of that. So you might say, for example, I really don't want to work 40 hours a week, or I really don't want to work 60 hours a week. So in your vision, you might be working 30 because that pain point's there. Maybe that pain point is, I have felt disconnected from my family and my friends. So in the vision, I am connected with my family and friends. That's we're obviously making some of those larger themes pretty rudimentary. The horizon and really this exercise is not really meant to be formatted any certain way. It could be a bullet point list. It could be a story. It could be pictures. It could be hieroglyphics. But what you're doing is, in looking in those three areas, what you're doing is you're trying to create this visual representation, or a verbal representation, or a written representation of what life could look like at the next level. And I find that people have a lot of challenge with this. Like it's actually a grueling exercise. So don't knock it before you try it. But the reason that it's difficult is because we're never given space to dream once you go. Like even entrepreneurs, like I remember like getting on stage and pitching for investors, but you kind of have very limited windows in life where like dreaming is okay. And usually that's like 5 years out of college. After that, like you're in the world and you're like, now you're in the game and you don't even know it.
Next is retirement.
Next is like, yeah, then you just playing.
Yeah.
So you're probably not accustomed, like you more than likely have not dreamed big in a long time. And before we even talk about like what not to put in here, let's just get to the place where we can say like, this is designed to be in those 4 areas, with your circle, the people you're around, with your lifestyle, with your health, and with your business all at the same time. And that can feel overwhelming, totally overwhelming.
I'm going to really date myself when I say this, and I'm well aware of that, but I know it still exists. Magazines.
What?
Yeah, you know what magazines are?
Like in guns?
Magazines. No, like a magazine you buy in the store. A gun magazine.
I'm just giving you
that
shit.
That doesn't even cross my mind. When I ran the retreat house working with high school kids, we would have them cut out pictures that spoke to them.
Yeah.
So sometimes you can't like verbalize, like a vision board that way. I know some adults that still do that kind of stuff that helps them. They can't put it into words. They might not be able to define it, but the picture says something to them as to what that vision is. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to go about it, I think.
And you could still buy magazines in Barnes & Noble.
Yeah.
And there's still Barnes & Noble.
The methods for this are wide. I mean, you can do vision board stuff. You can write it. You can speak it out loud and record it. What I think we're looking for here, and you'll see if you get our framework, there's just an open space on the first page of Horizon, and then the next page is where you start to categorize it. But what we're really trying to do here is say, okay, 3 years from now, what the fuck is possible? What can I actually consider chasing? And I think the best way to do this is just get as many ideas out on paper and later edit, right? Sort of, I think it was a Mark Twain thing where he was like, write drunk, edit sober. Like we almost want that kind of inhibition where we're just like, we're putting things on paper and then we can come back and assess it.
You also start to identify themes that way.
Yes. So this Horizon exercise is designed for you to sit down outdoors, somewhere disconnected, turn your phone off, and just start dreaming stuff up. And when it comes up, to not listen to the voice that tells you it's not possible, to not listen to the voice that tells you that it's crazy or it's too much or like somebody
or
how to get there. That's a really good point. Not to listen to those voices and just write it out.
That's because that's what I do.
Go into how.
Yeah.
So again, let's just kind of have a conversation in a sweeping manner to give you some examples of this. So you might think about your career first, because if you're an entrepreneur, it's hard not to. It's a big pillar, backbone of everyone's life, whether you're an entrepreneur or not. But so you might say, okay, what does the business focus on? What do I love about my job that I'm doing more of? If you love speaking, I love speaking. So speaking is a big part of that vision. You might think about how many hours you work, how much money you make. Then it gets really easy to slip into the how. So then you might think about like, well, who's involved? What kind of team members do you have? What kind of culture do you have? You might think about what time you get to the office. Do you have an office? What's it look like? What kind of art's on the wall? Notice that as we flow into that area, it's really easy to get attached to like all the I need all the details and the methods versus just here's what I imagine. Career is going to be an area where you probably have already done this.
I just to add to that, using my example from earlier about looking towards the horizon when I'm up in the mountains in Maine, I don't know exactly how I'm going to get out there. All I can do is, here's the first step I have to take to get there.
Yeah. Well,
you don't need to know all the.
Yeah, and the whole point of this exercise is you don't.
Right.
More than likely, though, you've already thought about your career. So let's look at the other areas. So if we think about circle, right, this is your environment. What kind of house do you live in? Can you describe that? What's the back patio look like? What's the basement look like? Do you have a certain room for your office? Do your kids have certain rooms? What do you do on weekends?
You should show them your basement sometime. It's a nice one.
Don't have a basement here. But this is where you also start to get into like, how your circle becomes more enmeshed in your life. So you might say, I see my parents multiple times a year. I host events and bring my circle together. I love cooking dinner for the family at home and being home for dinner. I like taking my kids to school, or I like taking my friends away for a trip once a year. But you can start to kind of dream a little bit here. I think in circle, what we see the most is that entrepreneurs like you have not really put investment into their circle, especially early on in the business, because you're focused. And then you almost don't know how when you go back to revisit this. So the circle should be a representation of like, what kind of things do you do? What does your world look like? And it's easy to be like, well, I'm around these like mega entrepreneurs. I'm hanging out with these superstar celebrities. Like, that's cool if that's where you're at and where you want to go. But how do you like lean into the relationships that you really love? If you're an introvert, most entrepreneurs, I would argue, are introverted. How do you spend more time with the 4 or 5 people that you can trust and be open with? How do you double down on family? How do you get around new people? Do you need to go network? Do you want to go network? Do you want to get out in public more? Your circle is so important. Maybe there's another house. Maybe there's a second house. Maybe you take your family away once a quarter and you go travel abroad or something like that. Maybe there's pockets and mastermind groups or cliques or like groups of people that you want to get more invested in. Maybe you're running with others. You'll start to kind of feel it bubble up, whatever is going to be important in circle. I think that's a really important one for like fulfillment. If you're missing fulfillment, circle's like a key area.
Yeah, and just be mindful of who's in that circle. If everyone is in your circle now, remains in that circle, then just be mindful of that.
Well, I'll say it more punchy than that. If everybody that's in your current circle now is in your vision at the top, your vision has not taken you to the next level. You're still at the same level. You just got to be more selective, and that's okay too. So again, circle might be about the things that you do, the places that you travel with the people, the little micro habits and processes. Like, dude, I had a guy that was like, when I sell my business, I'm going to have breakfast with my daughter. Like that, it's summating that, but that is basically what he asked for. And that was like a 3-5 year plan to sell the business. And she was like 7. I'm like, bro, you're going to miss it, man.
Yeah.
But also these things that we say we got to get somewhere for are literally about your organization process. Having breakfast with your daughter really just means, did you prioritize that? Are you intentional? And did you organize around that? So,
yeah, because the priority is important as well.
Yeah. So that's stuff that might belong in circle. And you could put things in there that may not feel like they're real or not feel like they're possible. It's okay. We're just going to put them down. For something like time. So again, time is like lifestyle. Time is adventure. Time is your experiences, things like that. I've had a variety of different things that I've put in this category. I've put things like, staycation once a month, or, travel abroad once a year, twice a year, 3 times a year. You can have things like maybe build a morning routine, or I want to have an evening routine. I want to celebrate my wins more often. Maybe it's like I want to take my significant other shopping, once a week, date nights, though that can also belong in circle. But in this particular category, we're looking for like lifestyle.
Hopefully your spouse is still in your circle.
Yeah. Well, you can just put it either place, you know what I mean?
Right.
Put the dream. And what I find interesting about like time in particular is that most entrepreneurs have an idea of what they would do in like a really small way, but when you start to expand it, it just seems overwhelming because the business is in the way. So they're like, I would love to go to a foreign country for 6 months, but how would I run the business? And the goal is to just let the but exist, but still write out the thing. I would love to go away and travel abroad for 6 months.
Because even that, like that example is a who question. Who can run the business while you're
there? Yeah. I mean, we can get into the how later, and in a way we do throughout this framework. But time is going to be about some of those things, right? I want to backpack. I want to do a backpacking trip. I want to walk the Appalachian Trail. I want to learn another language. I've seen things like, I want to write letters to my dad, or I want to do podcasts or things like that. When I think of what has changed a lot in the course of my career when it comes to vision and time is that I actually want less. Like I used to travel all the time, like so much. And I kind of want my experiences to be bigger, but slimmer, or bigger, but less frequent. Like I don't want to be gone for like 9 weeks, but I'd like to do
maybe
a good weekend.
More intentional.
Yeah, that's a great way to say it. You could also put in there, are there particular like day-to-day things? Like I no longer handle my own accounting. I don't do my taxes anymore. I've hired a VA. I have an EA. We built a team. I've got a salesperson that manages all that. So you can really start thinking about your day-to-day as well. Like what would you like your day-to-day to be? And that's why the next step of the framework is the perfect day, because it really informs that. We'll talk about that on the next episode. But time is a really important one. Like, and again, you can look past and say, when I was a kid, I wanted to take, to donate to soccer camps in, Mexico. Or you could look at your future and say, oh, well, I always thought that I would go back and teach. I'd go back to like middle school and teach, or high school and teach. Then you can also look at your pain. Like, man, I get really frustrated. Like my afternoon slump hits and I just like don't want to be at work anymore. So it might be like, I go for a walk in the afternoon. Like it can be that simple. It doesn't need to be, $7 million kind of thing.
Yeah.
I drive my Bugatti off the dock into the river. Like it doesn't need to be like that. It could just be, I go for a walk in the middle of the day.
Why would you drive it into the river?
Or like, because we're wasteful and vain entrepreneurs. But like if you find the pain that you're dealing with, you can also find the like anterior, like the backside of that, and write something really meaningful. One that stands out for me from way back, like I had this vision of a lifestyle and a coaching company and a business and all that. And one of those things was like being able to speak on stage, right? Being able to go away and speak on stage. And I think just putting that down was really scary, but it was like, okay, I'm going to figure out how to do it. So if that's something that you want to do, you want to do a TED talk, you want to do these things, like put it down. It can all be there. So that's time. Health is an interesting one. Health is really fascinating because most people, when they target health or they think 3 years out, they think of like really crunchy results. They're like, I have a 6-pack, or I weigh 195 pounds, or, this is like my look. But I think it's also really good in health to think about your mental health, think about your emotional health, right? Like I have a process for how to handle stress, or like I know what sets me off and how to handle triggers. Mm-hmm. When unpredictables happen, I'm calm. Like we can really start to round that out when it comes to health. We can think about our data, certainly cholesterol and testosterone and all these things that we can test and measure. You can definitely like go that way. But I also think you could say like, I want to be in the gym 3 times a week. Like I want to sign up for yoga, and I want to run a Spartan race. I want to do an Ironman. Like you might have a lot of those within 3 years that you want to tackle that are actually within grasp.
But still looking at the totality.
Yes.
It's like the totality of who you are.
Yeah. Think of this as a human being that is capable of a lot of things. And again, we meet these people, like we see these people where you're like, bro, you're doing it all. Like you're doing business, but you're also doing family. You're also like in shape and you're also like having all these adventures. How do you do it all? This is how, right? We have to get all the puzzle pieces out before we can start putting it together. And that's what a vision is, right? A vision is literally it's the puzzle box that helps us guide what
Correct.
pieces stay in.
Yeah.
And a lot of you guys, I'll be very honest, a lot of you guys, you don't have a fucking clue what puzzle you're putting together. So you just keep putting pieces from everybody else's puzzle in yours, and it just looks like this Frankenstein monster.
And then don't understand why it doesn't look.
Why doesn't it look clean? Like, well, dude, you're like borrowing goals and dreams, and you're just like copying what everybody else is doing. And then you got Frankenstein's monster on the table. Like, well, it's not yours. So I think that's important. Once you start to get this stuff out, my thought is that it comes with a little bit of momentum. Like once you start getting it, then it just starts coming out. If you want a game to play, if you have a good, maybe it's with a partner, a spouse, a friend, maybe it's with a group of friends. A great thing to do. I used to do this way back in the day with a group of entrepreneurs that I was hosting. We would sit in a circle and we would go around the circle as many times as we could before it got boring, which was a long time. And the objective was to say something that you wanted without defining why or justifying it back. And we would just go around the circle, right? And it'd be like, I want to take a helicopter ride over Chicago. And then somebody else would be like, I want to write a New York Times bestseller. Somebody else would be like, I want to take my mom to Europe. Like, and it would just keep going, right? Like, and because it was say it fast, you didn't have time to like think. It just came up.
Yeah.
But that game was a lot of fun to start getting things up.
Yeah. The other thing that comes to mind is if you've almost on the flip, what have you regretted? What have you regret not being able to do, or I'm too old, or all the excuses and justifications you've given yourself? It's also a good place to look when it comes to a vision, because there's probably something has been missing in your life because you haven't explored that.
Yeah. Especially if you're feeling unfulfilled.
Yeah. Anytime what I wrote, I've jotted some notes down. Whenever you find yourself saying yes, but can you flip it and yes, and when we do this all the time.
Yep. Yeah.
But.
Yeah, there is a definite degree of regret that keeps us from doing the right things. And this horizon exercise, again, the first of 6, is designed to get enough information out on paper that we can begin to work on a vision. Now, the framework does not work where it's like, you did section 1, you did section 2, you've completed all sections, now you have a vision. No, now you have the information to write it.
Correct.
Right? But we've got to get this information out. And, like, what you don't know is that your brain will optimize for a vision and will work on a vision when you are not thinking, if you give it the right love. Like, I'm looking out of the backyard right now. That, although I'm working on actively pushing another vision up higher to the next level, that backyard is 100% aligned with the vision that I had probably 4 years ago. So I'm looking at it, and even here, like, I'm looking at it. So you don't have to be thinking of it. Like, it's not like every day you wake up and you're like, all right, let me like do my vision. Like, that's not how it works. But having it allows you to orient. And we're going to talk more about this on the next one. But I think all of you would benefit if you're really serious about building a vision. You would benefit from, one, taking the time to work on it. You're going to need to set shit down. You're going to need to say no. You're going to need to stop your onslaught of responsibilities to just work on this. Because if you don't, you will end up undoubtedly off track. And if you don't know if you're off track, you're off track. Like, very simple way to figure it out. Like, well, what's track? You're off track.
Right.
I don't know what my track is. How do I know if I'm off track? Like, bro, you're off track.
The track was 6 miles that way.
Yeah. Like it. Yeah, exactly. It'd be like hiking, and you're like, wait, what trail are we on? Like, bro, you're not on a trail.
You wait until the sun is setting I don't know where I'm at.
I'm not sure where I'm at. Where are you going? I don't know. It's 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 important that vision is taken serious, because vision becomes the criteria from which you build. And if you are thinking small and you're dreaming small, vision is going to be the thing that lifts that up. But also, you cannot be a king that is overseeing a beautiful kingdom where the individuals, the tenants of that kingdom are supported and uplifted and bettered by being a part of it. That's culture, right? That's not only business, but that's your home life, your friends, and your relationships. You cannot lead that kingdom without some kind of vision. You can be a leader in your business, but being a visionary is a totally different, it's a transcendent state. And I think this process is going to help you really get out of your own way and start seeing a little bit bigger, because I'm willing to bet you're thinking real small. I'm willing to bet you're thinking real small right now. And even this conversation might be starting to break some stuff loose where you're like, oh shit, I don't know what I want.
A good thing to do is still like go outside and spend some time just looking at the horizon. It does start to open you up.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Dude, I mean, people, oh yeah, when I go to the beach, like it's all you do. You just sit and look out at the edge. And you're like, what's the edge? What's over there?
Correct.
What could be? And even that option of like what could be, you don't have to attack. Like you can not do any of this stuff, but to write it out is a beautiful thing.
Write it out, draw it out, know which way that works best for you. Just get it out.
Yeah, just get it out. Just get it out. Well, we'll see you on the next episode. If you're having trouble with this or want some more support, we've got a great meditation lined up for you. That'll help you get some thoughts out as well. Marty has recorded all of these, knowing that these frameworks are going to be tied together. So check that out. And then we're going to release one by one a review of each of these frameworks so that you have some step-by-step guidance. Next one is going to be the perfect day. So we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks so much for tuning in. Be sure to like and review the podcast if you've gotten some value out of this. Follow along online. My Instagram handle is at Aaron Belke. His is at Marty Nocchi, Nocchi. And we would love any feedback that you have, anything that you want to learn about, or any place that you're stuck. We'll address it here on the podcast. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you on the next one.